We lost a lot of members to AIDS.
This plague that they were calling it. We didn't really understand what was happening.
There was no cure that we knew of.
It was difficult to lose so many people.
I mean, I always knew that I was gay from a very early age at school, and certainly my parents didn't accept it at all. They were very angry about it, and so I left home at the age of 17. Life was very much all about being careful, but when I came down from Derby to London, that really transformed my life, because I realised I wasn't alone. There were hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of other people.
Okay. Well, I was living in West Croydon at the time, and there was an advert in the paper for the local CHE group, which is Campaign for Homosexual Equality, social group. So I went along there, spoke to the guy who was running it, and he said, would I be interested in helping out the group? And I said, oh, okay, fair enough. I had never even met, knowingly, a gay person before then when I was 24, and then all of a sudden you've got 100 plus people coming into a room. And I thought, wow, this is different. So then I joined the social group. We were at a social meeting one day and a couple of us were talking about tennis, and we decided to start playing tennis up at East Croydon. There's 3 of us. And then Jim came along, which should be 77, I think. And it started from there, so we put an advert in our local paper, our newsletter, put an advert in for interested tennis players.
Your shorts were rather short then,
well, but they were in these days.
Well, they were, weren't they?
Some of mine were obscene.
It started in the summer of '77, and I think by October we already had 22 people had played. So that was quite a good start, really.
I was very keen on tennis. I'd always been a member of a tennis club and enjoyed playing very much, so I made contact with them and joined. And as a result, made many friends.
When the group started playing tennis down on one of the sort of public courts, you get a lot of abuse. Some people really weren't happy about us playing there, and they tried to intimidate us and make things difficult for us by not leaving the court when it was our time to play, or things like throwing stones at us, letting our tyres down on the cars, or intimidating us at the entrance. It was annoying, but I kind of stood up for ourselves. At the end of the day, we wanted to play tennis. We weren't interested in what people were saying.
People who become HIV positive and consequently lose their jobs or become too ill to carry on have had to fend for themselves entirely. Despite government advertisements and warnings about the disease, it's still on the increase. And despite public appearances by members of the royal family with AIDS sufferers to try and quell fears about the disease, there's still widespread ignorance about how it's contracted.
It was the media, wasn't it, that started talking about it.
There was a lot of homophobia and AIDS phobia at the time, there really was. They talked about the gay plague. We were almost blamed for this disease, which of course is completely ridiculous scientifically.
Felt like nobody really knew what was happening, but somehow people were getting very sick and very quickly, but it was all very mysterious, similar to COVID in that way.
We didn't really understand what this virus was about, why it seemed to be in particular affecting drug users and gay men in particular. The group numbers fell significantly as a result of people being infected.
Some people just dropped out, and we didn't really know at the time that they had died of AIDS.
It was quite common to talk about funeral fatigue.
I lost, in particular, one very good friend of mine, and that was very upsetting, obviously. I played doubles for many years with Mike Harvey, whom one of our trophies is named after, and we were quite successful. He was a better player than me. He was actually a painter and decorator, and
One amusing anecdote was, he said, guess where I'm phoning from, and he happened to be in 10 Downing Street, because the firm for which he worked as a painter and decorator happened to have the contract for painting in 10 Downing Street, so that was quite amusing.
Well, unfortunately, Mike, who was one of our best players and a lovely, lovely man, he became infected, as did many others.
It was very sad indeed. One of the side effects was Kaposi's sarcoma, which affected the skin, and you had black marks on the skin. And I remember he was after a long-sleeved tennis shirt. I think we had to compromise in a cricket shirt in the end. But because he didn't really want them to be seen. It's something you would be very self-conscious about, at least I would. Mike died of AIDS in just after New Year in 1990. It was undoubtedly a very difficult period. Not enough was being done in Croydon to support gay people.
People that we were playing tennis with were coming down tennis on Sunday and having a difficult time, not feeling great, but they hadn't really got any support with them to go to hospitals, to go to doctor's appointment, maybe then when they were becoming more ill, to help them with things like their shopping. And there was like a real gap between people's needs and what services were available. And we really, as a tennis group, we started to fill in that gap for those people in the tennis group. So helping accompany people to appointments, if they're in hospital, visiting them, helping to feed them, helping to look after and care for them, all really as individuals for quite a while. But then we kind of got together in a front room with some of the tennis group friends, and we said, hey, look, we really can do something as a group.
A lot of us here volunteered to set up a project called the ACE project, AIDS, Care and Education, to provide facilities for people who had been infected with some sort of support.
We looked for like a building that we could provide services from, and at the time there was a disused maternity hospital in South London that was vacant, and the health authority kind of gave us the space, but then we had to do all of the decorating and the refurbishment and the furnishing of that place. And that's kind of, from my perspective, where I came in, set up a fundraising group.
We did shows, amateur shows, to raise money and lots of fundraising, that sort of type of thing. So we did well for that. We did church halls and filled them up.
We're doing things like auctions and jumble sales, bingo nights, race nights, that kind of thing, but also looking at setting up covenants, getting people to leave us income in wills, so being kind of professional fundraising, as well as the more informal fundraising.
We're still playing our tennis, and it was very important. I think it was probably more important then than it was before that, because it was a social thing that we all enjoyed.
Well, we actually had what we call the ACE trophy, and so we had singles and doubles tournaments, and we paid money to play in these tournaments as a form of fundraising, and we did this quite regularly.
I was a fundraising coordinator from 1987 to 2001, and during that period of time we raised as a community over £700,000, and that including raising the money to build 2 community centres and to staff them and to provide services and support.
So many amazing young people were taken far too soon, but one hopes that in some small ways we contributed to helping their last days, which were a little bit more more comfortable than they otherwise might have been.
How fast is it gone, is it? It's amazing, really.
That's 30 years ago.
All the people that we've had.
If anyone had told me in those days that civil partnerships and marriages would be accepted, and that you could come out at work or at tennis clubs with no fear of discrimination and prejudice, I would have thought it was highly improbable.
There are a tremendous number of groups these days, a lot of gay sporting groups, football, tennis, rugby.
We're getting so many new members, which still suggests it's something that LGBT people are interested in, want to be part of.
It might feel the safe place for some people still nowadays, yeah? It might still be the safe house for somebody to come to if they're not out or they're not free to tell people.
The universe has pulled us closer. I trust whatever's brought me here to you. You can never lose. If love is what you feel, then it's not wrong. Do you want the world for someone? It's not a feeling you can run from. 'Cause we love who we love, so let go. Don't know better than your heart knows. Whether they're here or long gone, we love who we love. Yeah, we love who we love.
In one word, the journey of the group from the start up until now, what word would you use?
God.
Amazing.
Supportive.
Proud.